So Dubai property prices are about to drop 15%. Now, that's not my personal opinion. That's the opinion of Fitch rating agency. And these guys go out and they give their opinions and they give ratings to property markets and other things, right? So they're saying that Dubai's property market is about to drop 15%. And across all of my social medias, I'm seeing people panic. I'm seeing people back with the comments about how Dubai's market is gonna crash. I see comments saying that it's never recovered from 2008. I see people saying that, you know, I should get out now. I'm a madman for still being in this market. And before we jump into what my opinion is, I must say, I want to talk about how similar it is and how crazily similar the property market is, especially in Dubai, but actually the property market across the world is to the stock market. And then and similarly to that is the crypto market. And it's so funny to see. I make content in basically all of those different niches because I make content about what I do and I talk about what I do. I'm an investor in the Dubai property market, in the American property market, in the Bali or Indonesia property market, and hopefully many more countries. And I'm going to continue to make content about what I think and what I'm doing, because then I just get to share with you guys exactly what that is. By the way, if you use the links in the description, you can get in contact with me if you want me to introduce you to any of the agents that I use to buy from, any of the companies that set up my residency in multiple different countries, and anything that you really need to do to be a property investor, or you know, if you need any advice on setting yourself up a new residency, that sort of stuff is in the description. But with that said, it's so funny because I make content about crypto, right? And people tell me the same thing about Bitcoin, for example. Bitcoin, every time we reach a new high, everyone's like, it's 100% going to crash from here. Get your money out while you still can. It's going to zero, all of this stuff. And Bitcoin is this intangible internet magical beans, right? And no one really knows what's going to happen. But property is not intangible. Property is not a magical internet bean. And I guess it's all based on your perception on what you think can and will happen, all right? So I think a lot of people who comment like that, they just don't do any research. One, they're not invested themselves, so they don't have sort of the gumption to go out and research and stay up to date with everything that's happening. And then two, they kind of just sit in this field where the majority of what we call retail investors sit. I am still a retail investor, but I like to consider myself a retail investor who does the research, right? And the research from the history, right? So if we look at the history of property markets, normally they tend to just slowly go up with this sort of movement, right? And that's exactly what we see in stocks, exactly what we see in crypto. Now, when I say crypto, I pretty much only mean Bitcoin, but that's up to debate, whatever you guys feel about that. But when we're looking specifically at the Dubai property market, the reason why it so violently moves upwards is because it's a new growing economy. It's not like London or Tokyo or Paris or whatever yet, right? But if you're of the mindset that it could one day be like that, and it's very close, in my opinion, to being like that, then if I'm an investor into a new growing economy, I get access to this crazy upward swings, right? These upward swings that can happen. But also I have to be prepared for potential corrections, bear markets, pullbacks, crashes, whatever you want to call it. Because the simple matter is, you don't get access to the sorts of gains we've had over the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years in Dubai without corrections, without market pullbacks and potential crashes. And it's my opinion that no one who is investing into a growing economy that's new-ish, right, should really be doing so with the expectation that things only go up. Now, for me personally, I'm very bullish on Dubai's economy, Dubai as a country, and Dubai as a place that people will continue to want to go to, right? Especially leaving places like the UK. There are statistics, over 10,000 people, I think in 2024, millionaires in fact, left the UK for Dubai, right? And because it's a growing economy, there's more and more jobs and there's more and more opportunities for people. Now again, you could argue that with the likes of AI, people are going to lose their jobs. This is a comment that I've been getting. And that is a fair enough assumption and opinion. And that's fine. If that's going to stop you from investing into a growing economy, then that is just up to you entirely. I have actually no idea where Dubai's market will go and what will happen next, for sure. I don't know. All I can do is go on the history, and all I can do is have act on the opportunity that we have at hand. And I think this is an opportunity. I think there are other opportunities in many different countries as well, which I talk about here on this channel. But is there going to be a crash? Is there going to be a 15% correction? Is that going to happen? Well, in my opinion, it might very well happen. Now, I don't think it's going to happen in the likes of maybe villas, for example. But not all villas. Some villas will. And I don't think it's going to happen with maybe some properties that are fairly priced. But the issue that I see in Dubai's property market right now is how fast the prices have moved up, and the introduction of things like payment plans, which have been great for a long time. But also what this has done recently is create a place where there's an inflation of prices because people want access to basically this interest-free loan from the developer, you could call it, and in turn they pay a premium. Now, I have multiple payment plans, and pretty much all of them I've paid a premium on, but the premium has been completely destroyed by the fact that the price of the market's gone up. Now, the more premiums that get added, the more properties that are sold at a certain price, right? And those prices are registered. And then people see that price, and then they continue to add on that price, which is inflating the price. But people haven't paid off these properties. So that's what's helped with the fire of how quickly the property prices have risen, along with factors like people leaving the UK, millionaires leaving the UK, buying multiple properties, and people coming from other countries in the world where they see a better life in Dubai. Now, if a correction happens, which again, I don't know if it will or won't happen, but if it does, I would tell you that I would be expecting that to happen, and I have my strategy in place. My strategy is simple. I only buy property that I'm willing to hold for a long period of time. I'm not in the market for the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I'm in the market for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's my plan, right? I do, however, have hedges against that. Hedges in my strategy would include buying properties and selling them on handover. Buying properties and selling some of them to bank that capital to have as a reserve in case we do get a correction. Because any good investor knows that when there's a correction in a market that they believe, right, is underpriced, then that's an opportunity. Now, I'm not telling you that Dubai's market is underpriced right now, and I'm not telling you it's underpriced if there was a correction, and I'm not telling you it's underpriced in a year or two. For me personally, I will assess how the market is moving, how the market is reacting. If we get an actual pullback and there are opportunities in the market, for example, in areas that I personally know generate a really high ROI or yield from my rent, if I see those properties back down to close to where I got them a few years ago, I'll be very excited. I'll be very excited to be able to get these properties again, because the rental yield has been absolutely incredible, right? It's very hard to generate 10% basically anywhere, any of my other properties that I have across the world. But in Dubai, it's been very much possible to do that. So if it happens, I have my strategy in place and I will not be acting on my emotion. And again, I bring it back into how interesting it is and how similar it is, the Dubai property market to not Dubai property market, property in general, stocks, cryptocurrency, property investing, and really any investing in general, because it's the people who don't move with emotion are the people who tend to win in the long run, right? So I have a long-term outlook. I plan to hold the properties that are in my long-term investment portfolio. If the market crashes 15%, it doesn't matter, because I wasn't in it for, 1 year. Also, 15% is how much my properties have gone up in the last 1 or 2 years. So again, it doesn't matter. And two, if we crash significantly more than that, 50%, right? If that were to happen, then I will act without emotion, but with my strategy. And then if the commenters turn out to be correct, and for some reason, Dubai's property market is over, and somehow this property market goes to zero, which again, I don't think is going to happen, But the way I plan for things is I don't know what will happen. So I need to understand my goals and what I can and cannot withstand. So if that happens, and everyone who's telling me for some reason Dubai's property market will go to zero, then guys, I've only put money into that market that I do not need to survive, right? So if it goes to zero, it's going to be painful, it's going to be hard, and I'm going to hope it's not going to happen. But if it does, it's not going to end. It's not going to be the end for me, right? I'll continue to try and find opportunities, and I'll continue to try and invest for the long term unemotionally. So that's what I'm thinking about this potential crash, pullback, whatever you want to call it. And if you do want to get in touch with myself or any of the agents or brokers that I personally use in this pursuit to you know, become financially free and all of that stuff, the links are in the description, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.